recognize this tiny puppy? Oh, is she getting bigger? Say hi. Millie is loving this book, even though she fell asleep last time we were reading it with her. We are getting into our next chapter, my friends. I just recorded that summary, so hopefully you are kind of remembering where we are and where we've been in the story. And our next chapter is called Leaving. Oh, I'm feeling kind of sad already. Ooh, careful with biting. Moll was waiting. Let me give this little pup something to bite besides me. She's always trying to eat me. Here. Moll was waiting for him when he returned to his cabin. She found her coat. She had her coat on and Gellifen in her arms. So it seems that Mel is the one that's leaving. Sorry, Moll, not Mel. We're going, she said. Where? Back to Atidina. I'm not staying here. But you can let me go alone or you can come with me as soon as they're asleep. But Moll, the potions. I don't care what they think. If you mention the potion again, I'll tear your ear off with my fingers, all right? You know I can. He looked at her. She was still shaking, shivering with shock and fear. He could not let her go alone. Immortal she might be, but she was physically small and frightened. We'll walk across the city to the western docks, said Moll, and I'll hire a boat and go home, and I'll lock the door and I'll never open it again. Do we think Christopher's going to go with her? But Moll, the Glimmery, everything depends on it, the whole archipelago. Here's the thing that I'm like kind of torn on. Is Moll the type of person that's going to let the whole archipelago die and all the creatures die with it? Or do you think she's going to come around? I mean, I don't blame her. I know that being the immortal is a huge responsibility, but I'm just really wondering where this is going. Someone else will have to deal with it. What if there are creatures in the waters? The sphinxes said they're afraid and angry and hungry. Her face was set. She looked 70% jaw. Then we'll meet them, won't we? And we'll see who's angrier. Ooh. Okay, so now we have a little break in the page. Whoops. We know that time is passing, or the setting's changing, or the characters are changing. Let's see what that means for this page. The clocks were striking 2 when they crept off the boat. So in this case, time has passed. So now they waited until everyone slept, and it says they crept off the boat. So does that tell us, is Moll by herself, or has Christopher joined her? Christopher has joined her, because it's not a she, it's a they. Gellifen sat on Moll's shoulder, his head resting against her cheek. They passed through the squares, crossing bridges over the moonlit canals in the dark. A Ratatoska leapt from one lamppost to another. A bell chimed the quarter hour. There'll be someone who will take us back to Atidina, said Moll. For enough money, I still have quite a lot in my coat. There are commercial sailors who will go anywhere if we have the gold. They passed into a wide cobbler square lined with shattered stones. In the center, a stone fountain in the shape of a mermaid oh, sorry, friends. Sent water up into the lamplight. That's kind of a very cool lamp that I've never seen before, but I'd like to. Heavy silver drinking cups hung by chains from its side, carved with unicorns. This way, I think, said Christopher. This way is west. And then the whole night turned black, pitch and terribly black. Adam Cavill stepped from behind the fountain. Adam Cavill, you guys, we were just talking about him in the summary. Adam Cavill, or the man otherwise known as the murderer. And again, he has been sorry, Millie's so cute. He has been written as a murderer, but again, we never know. Maybe he's like a long-lost cousin that's trying to help them. Let's see what he's going to do. It sounds very scary being the pitch of night. Now, all of a sudden, he's coming from behind the fountain. Moll screamed, and Cavil ran at her. She was lifted off her feet, one hand at her mouth and the other at her flailing fists. Christopher had no weapons, nothing. He looked wildly around the square. He seized one of the drinking cups and pulled. It came away with a giant clattering screech. He ran faster than he had ever run. He leapt on Cavil's back and set the chain against the man's neck, pulling backward. Cavil gave a strangled roar and dropped Moll to face Christopher. His knife flashed in his hand. Suddenly, Gellifen was flying, furious, avenging, and his teeth and claws were among the daring, vicious blade. Cavil turned, took aim with his knife, and swiped at the griffin, who veered sideways with a long, high cry. Christopher swung the drinking cup on the chain and slung it with all of his strength into the man's face. Cavil gave a yell, shock and pain together, and Moll seized the man's hand and sank her teeth into it. But the knife was rising again. She darted back, and it grazed at her skin. She twisted to spit in his face. Is this too scary? Should we maybe stop reading this? I don't know. I feel like this is getting too intense. Perhaps we could read something a little bit more calm. Or should I keep reading? I have to keep reading. We have to keep reading. What's going to happen? You know it's a good book if there's nothing more devastating than stopping at this exact moment. That is evidence of a great book. I would be devastated if we closed now and never looked back. Let's see what happens. And then suddenly the terror was over because Nighthand was there. Yay! He came. Remember, he is a berserker. He has taken the oath to save Moll no matter what, and he takes that oath very seriously. He came across the square like a one-man stampede, lifted Cavil bodily, and hurled him against a wall. Yes. Nighthand stood over him. Every line of his face was rage. You do not know how grotesquely stupid you have been, but you will know. Cavil rolled away and up to his feet. His knife and Nighthand's blade flashed a grunt, a stroke of blood, and then the top half of Cavil's knife sliced in half. What kind of blade does Nighthand have? He has the glimmery blade, which can cut anything, including someone else's knife, which is amazing to imagine. Cavil's knife, sliced in half, flew through the air. Christopher ducked and then hissed as it caught him on the shoulder. Oh no! The man pulled a second knife, longer, thinner, from his belt and jabbed with it, his face lured now with fear and hate. Nighthand parried with a glamoury blade. Sorry, I said glimmery blade. It's a glamoury blade. As if he had all the time in the world, his face set and expressionless under the lamplight in the dark square. And then Cavil twisted toward Moll again. He lunged at her, knife out, and Nighthand said, "No, enough!" And his knife hand flashed, and the murderer dropped like a stone to the ground. The berserker bent over the murderer and pressed his hand over a wound in Cavil's chest. Moll and Christopher ran to him. Nighthand leaned closer. "Tell me why you are trying to kill her. Tell me. She is just a child." "She is not. She is the immortal." Here's an illustration of Nighthand holding on to Cavil's shirt as Cavil speaks his last words. Moll said, I'm not. "She is a namer, a seer. He told of a child whom he named Malum. He knew or half hoped what she was." "If you know that, what good is it to kill the immortal?" said Nighthand. "My master, he wishes the immortal to always be a child." Nighthand's face was full of disgust. "Why?" Cavil shook his head, hair rubbing against the stone floor. "I can't say. I'm forbidden." Christopher said, "Who is he, your master? Who is he?" The murderer's voice was very thin. "No," he said again. "He'll have me killed." Nighthand lifted his hand from the murderer's wound. "You will bleed to death in 3 seconds unless I put my hand back, so tell me." Stop. I do not know his name. He is the thing at the heart of the maze." How did he get in? Said Night Hand. He replaced his hand. The maze is impossible. Not to him. He is there at the very center, in the central chamber. Cavill groaned, and his voice dropped lower. He got a message to me. He sent it on a breath of mist. He's gaining in his power, he gasped. It grows daily. He will share it with the first who are loyal to him, and I will be the first of the first. As soon as he controls it all, I will get my portion. All what? Tell me, man, or I'll remove my hand and leave you here to rot. The glimmery. The world's glimmery. He devours it. That's not possible. It is. You're wrong. Anger and hunger made his voice stronger. He did it. He went to the heart of the maze because he could see power awaiting him. Cavill panted, and there was blood in his throat. He knew it was there for the taking. He risked death in the maze, and then he called to me and told me what to do, to kill the girl. He told me it is wiser to side with power, with the purest power there has ever been. I tried to argue. I did not want to kill a child. I hoped there was another way. He coughed, wet and raw. But he told me to. It had to be done. He told me hope is another word for delusion. His voice rasped, and his face convulsed a grunt of pain. Hope is a little lie that the powerless use to comfort themselves. Excuse me? Does anyone agree with that? I could not disagree with that more. Hope is a little lie that the powerless use to comfort themselves. This man is indeed very, very wrong about what hope is. Excuse me. Huh. Not to be arguing with a man on his deathbed, but I couldn't disagree with that man more. This is telling me, if someone said something like this is helping me understand this character a little bit more, and I think this character is crazy. And it's probably a bad guy, because who doesn't believe in hope? It's the really only real tangible thing we have in our lives, right? Hope and wishes and believing in the good of others, in love. Don't get me started. Okay, sorry, back to the story. But this is madness. No man can control the glimmery. No man has ever done so yet, but he has found the way, and when he has consumed it all, he will have enough power in him to take not just the archipelago, but the other lands. Ooh, we're talking about pure evil here, friends. The whites of Cavill's eyes were red, but he looked at Christopher and smiled. A vaunting smile. The world entire. I know where you're from. I smell it. Don't think that you are safe. He will have all of it. He'll take hold of the world like a coin in the palm of his hand. He will make it his. I'm getting creeped out. Christopher couldn't breathe. The thought of his father, always so afraid, always anxiously holding the world at bay. It seemed in that moment that he had been right to be afraid, and Christopher had been wrong. Nothing in the world was safe, and for a moment he pictured the earth spinning in starlit dark, and it felt to him as vulnerable as a newborn, and panic rose in him like a wild thing. Cavill spoke again, barely a whisper. And he will give it to me. Nobody will be stronger. Nobody will dare approach me. The man's voice was growing weaker, and he began to mutter half-words, none of them making sense. What is he? Said Night Hand. Is he a creature? Human? What? And then, as Cavill's set his mouth in a tight line. How did you know how to find Maul? Tell me that. Anja Traverse, he breathed. She told me. Wasn't that the lady that was the nice friend that lent them the boat? Nighthand let out a hiss of shock and horror, and Christopher stared bewildered. Anja? Oh, I can see Millie playing over here. But the man's lips convulsed and his eyes closed. Nighthand rocked back, his head in his hands. Maul came to him, but he shook his head. Stay back, little immortal. He bent and lifted the man's body as lightly as if it were a doll, carried him further into the alley and laid him out, his hands across his chest. Christopher looked at the body and then at Moll, who crouched down with her back to a lamppost, rubbing at her bruised body. You guys just have to see how cute this little silly puppy is. Millie, you're cute. Are you funny? A thought came to him with the force of a blow. Moll, he said slowly, I know why he is hunting you. That thing in the maze, he wants you and every immortal to be young. It's because he thinks children are helpless. He wants to make sure that the immortal never grows to be an adult, so they can never be a threat. It made a vicious kind of sense, and he felt it with a bitter certainty. Find the immortal as a child and kill them, and find them again and kill them again, and on like that forever. Ooh. She said, I am not helpless, but it was a mutter, low in her throat. I know that. He reached out his hand to Moll, and she took it and rose. Together they watched Nighthand take the man's half-knife and put an X into his own palm. There were 4 there. Christopher saw already. It made 5th. His face had no satisfaction, only disgust. The red on the cobbles of the square. Blood ran over stone. And then a thin cry rent the air, and they turned, moving like twins. Then they saw the worst thing of that terrible night. It was Gellifen. Oh my gosh. Friends, that is the end of that chapter. Oh, the next chapter is called Gellifen. And I cannot handle it if it's going to be bad news about Gellifen. I hope it's just Gellifen finding a friend. But let's just unpack what's happened in that really, really incredible chapter. I love the message that Moll is a child and she is not helpless. So this creature that's in the center of the maze wants to keep the immortal children because clearly this person does not have a firm, or creature does not have a firm grasp on reality. First of all, does not understand what hope really is, and is completely underestimating this child because we know that Moll and every child on planet Earth is extremely powerful for a million different reasons. So I'm starting to sense that that's one of the themes of this story. That's one of the major lessons. One of the reasons why I'm thinking Katherine Rundell wrote this story is to remind kids of their power, to remind you that within your imagination, within your creativity, within your heart, within your intelligence, within your kindness, within your hope, you have this enormous sense of power. Some kids know that, some kids don't. I hope the kids in my class know that because that's a really important lesson in life. So I'm really excited that now Moll is going to get the chance to really show her power. I think this is going to be kind of the tipping point that is going to force Moll into stepping firmly into her role as the immortal. So we'll see what happens next. Keep our fingers crossed that Gellifen is okay. I strangely feel like this little puppy. Hey, Millie. Millie. Hey, pups. Millie kind of reminds me of Gellifen because she's always with me and she's just like my sweet little buddy. So the thought of something happening to Gellifen or Millie is making my heart feel quivery. But we will hold out hope. And we will keep reading this book, and I just love being on this summer reading adventure with you guys, and I can't wait to read some more. Love you, love you, love you. Enjoy this day, and we'll read again soon.